Thank you for joining us on the special broadcast. Major Gaurav Arya will be joining us in the studios along with Abhishek Kapoor, our senior executive editor. And in the next 1 hour, we will only look at the video that the entire country is talking about, the video from the line of actual control. We know the video is from the line of actual control. We know that the video is from Tawang. We don't know the date. Was it the video of what happened on the 9th of December? We can't confirm that. But with this video, one thing is proven, that China tried to cross the LAC. They tried to contact the LAC. They tried their stunt again and they were beaten black and blue. Push back. Take a look at the video that everyone is talking about across India this evening.
चलो आगे आगे जरा आगे वाला ओ जान दे शावा छटा 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 ये दोबारा नहीं और गए मगर जाओ मगर थोड़ा ओ बस बस ओ बस करो गौर शाबाश परे हो जा ओ बस बस परे हो जाओ परे हो जा गौर शाबाश
And that's how it happened. I want to go across to Abhishek Kapoor. Abhishek, this video, Abhishek. I think we don't know the date of this video, but in all likelihood, it could be the video. We don't know. We can't confirm, but it's clear it's Tawang. I'd like you to speak over this video as we wait for Major Gaurav Arya, who will be joining us any minute now. Abhishek, let's play out the video, and Abhishek will speak over that video and tell us his takeaways of it.
Well, whatever I could understand from this video, Niranjan, this is obviously of Tawang, roughly the same area, possibly from earlier than December. So obviously not the latest one, number one. Number two, I can sense that distinct, lingo, and it's of Sikh light infantry and the Jat regiment. So the soldiers from the Jat regiment and the Sikh light infantry, a Sikh Lai as it is called, those soldiers are there. You can decipher it from the language being used, the Chinese being given some medicine there, and the way they are really pushed back, beaten up. And in fact, I can tell you, there was an episode, Niranjan, last year, in which a couple of Chinese were taken prisoners also, or taken hostage. And it's only after the standoff came to an end and the Chinese backed off and the flag meeting happened that the Chinese soldier was given back. There were a couple of them. So I think the misadventure that the Chinese planned has been rebutted, repulsed, and the Chinese pushed back into their own territory. Hopefully we'll get some video from the latest incident as well. But remember, Yangtze is an area where typically the Indian formations have advantage of geography, and this is a plateau. The Yangtze is a plateau about 35 kilometers northeast of Tawang, and the geographical formation is such that on the one side there is a waterfall, which is on the Indian side, and the other side there is a valley, and down that valley is where the Chinese side is. So obviously the Indian troops, wherever they are positioned, they have an advantage of sight vis-a-vis the Chinese, and that's the reason perhaps time and again we have seen. In fact, this is a place where the Chinese have been trying to come in and occupy some vantage peaks since as far back as 2006, and that gives you an idea of how the geography really plays a role in tactical strategic moves taking place between India and China, or the Indian soldiers and the Chinese PLA in this area, in this sector. That is one. Also, it can be seen from the video, Niranjan, that the advantage of India vis-a-vis the Chinese soldiers is very clear. The fence is the Indian soldiers, the side of the fence that they are in is giving them the advantage of height vis-a-vis the Chinese. The Chinese have to climb up a bit, and that's perhaps the reason why the Chinese have failed every time they have tried to. Also, Niranjan, talking about the latest episode, it is clear that it was planned right to the last detail, insofar as the Chinese thought that they have only about 50 soldiers, so they came in about 300 to 500. They thought they would outnumber the Indian troops. Also, they came in the dead of night, clearly suggesting that they thought that this would help them provide not just cover, but then perhaps the Indian response would be slower. And to their surprise, the Indians were prepared, which means that our surveillance and monitoring really paid dividends. It also shows, Niranjan, that post-Galwan, our systems, the changes that have been brought in terms of deployment mechanics, in terms of making sure that the best of technology is available, insofar as monitoring the line of actual control is concerned, all that is available to our soldiers there in those areas, and that really came into play. So, for example, the SITREP, as it is called, the situation report, which was sent to the brigade headquarters early in the morning of 9th of December, clearly suggested some unusual Chinese activity. And Major Gaurav Arya is joining us. He's entered the studios, Niranjan. I think we would have him wired up in just about a few seconds. He's a soldier, he can do it fast. And then we would have better analysis of the events that led to the 9 December clash between India and China, and the troops, and the lesson that the Chinese have been taught whenever they are going to take this kind of misadventure next. Niranjan, in fact, I am already joined now by Major Gaurav Arya. He's just to get an EP on him, and we would be getting an analysis from Major Gaurav Arya of this video.
Should we play that video out,
Abhishek? Have the video on the wall as well. Yes, so if we can have the video on the wall, Niranjan, Major can really show it to the viewers.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. We're just about putting that video. In fact, this morning, last night, I think at about 8:45 p.m. is when we put out this video. It's an undated video. We don't know the date of the video, but one thing is clear: the video is from Tawang. I think Major Gaurav Arya has also spoken about it in great detail through the day. And Major Gaurav Arya, take it away. You and over to you, Abhishek, and you to take it forward. This entire next 1 hour we are dedicating only to this video, Major Gaurav Arya.
All right, thanks Niranjan. Major with me. Major Arya, you can see the video behind you, in fact.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
And the viewers need to be told,
yes,
even if this is not the latest one, this is in the same area.
Yes.
And what our soldiers are doing, what advantages they have or what disadvantages they have,
yes,
and how they have tackled them.
Okay.
So give us the military view.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the area that the Chinese wanted to attack and occupy. It is undated. We don't know the date, but this is definitely Tawang. That is one part of it. Second part, you see a gradual climb, a gradual slope. And this is technically what is, a company is based out here. So this base, this company base, was where there were around 50 odd soldiers of the Indian Army. They were based here.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it an outpost? Is it a bunker? What?
No.
Like we can see the fences.
Yes, you can call this an outpost, but it will have various bunkers.
Right.
Because maybe 4, 5 or 8 to 10 people fit into a bunker.
Right.
So you'll have a series of bunkers which have their own areas of responsibility.
Right.
So what happened is, Abhishek, these Chinese soldiers coming up, trying to occupy land. Now what happens here? Technically what has happened here is 50 people, the Chinese send 300. 300 is the figure that's been banded around. 300, which means
could be more.
That could be more. They are saying 300, which means a ratio of 6:1. The Chinese thought they will come, they will overwhelm our soldiers. Ratio of 6:1, 6 Chinese soldiers, 1 Indian Jawan. But what happened was, when the Chinese were moving in, from the previous night, they were collecting in just behind the bend, behind the mountains. They were collecting this volume of men, the PLA. It is then that the Indian Army used handheld thermal imaging.
Yeah.
Handheld thermal imaging, which ensures that you can see at night, you can see human forms, you can see the heat signatures. The Indian Army figured out.
Major.
Yeah.
You need to tell us, what are these handheld thermal imagers? Are these new equipment that the Indian Army has got? Are we using that, for example, along the LOC to track terrorists? I mean, is it a fun equipment to use?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a handheld thermal imager is actually, thermal imaging is a technology by which you get to know the heat signatures of the body. So during my time, we used to use the PNVDs and ANVDs, passive night vision device, active night vision device. Now, in addition to that, we also have that, but we have the handheld thermal imaging. You can make out heat signatures of the body. This is something like from the movie Predator.
Yeah.
It's high-tech equipment, very good. So what they did was, they knew that the Chinese are coming and the Chinese plan to come. So what they did was, they called a brigade, which is their higher headquarters, and these guys, these Indian soldiers, activated the QRT, the quick reaction team. And before the Chinese knew, the strength of the Indian post had almost quadrupled.
So the tables had turned.
Tables had turned. That's
Shikari
right.
khud shikar ho gaya.
Shikari khud shikar ho gaya.
Yeah.
So now the Chinese came fully prepared to meet 50 Indian soldiers, 300 Chinese soldiers, and the game was on.
Yeah.
Except that it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
Except that it wasn't. And they came here, and then they were met with a reception party of the Indian Army.
Also, Major,
Yeah.
you know, we talk about this high-tech stuff like thermal imagers.
Yes.
But also, if you look at these soldiers, the danda they are carrying,
Yeah.
it's a spiked.
Yes.
Indian soldiers never used that earlier.
No.
It's a post-Galwan thing, I think.
Yes.
Right? So you can tell us something about that.
Okay. So essentially, the various agreements we have signed with the Chinese, going back 15, 20, 25 years, these agreements have said that, within those 10-kilometer radius areas, you can't carry weapons. Even if you go for firing practice, the firing practice has to be way behind. You can't even fire at normal paper targets.
Right.
So nothing can be done.
Yeah.
But what happened was the old philosophy of Sun Tzu, Abhishek.
Yeah.
Right? Real victory is to win without fighting.
Very true.
And that is what the Chinese follow. They are not fighting.
Yeah.
But they are salami slicing. They are trying to occupy land. They are trying to occupy land without firing a single shot.
Yeah.
And this is what the Chinese did. Now, the Chinese have been playing victim, Abhishek. After they got a thrashing, they are saying that it is the Indians who intruded into their territory. And if that is what the Chinese are saying, I said, God bless the Indian Army. This is exactly what you must do. Enter into China, because
I'm told that we have to go to some graphics, Major, and if the graphics can go on the wall. All right. So essentially, we are moving on, Major. We'll come back to the video, but then if you can just explain for the benefit of viewers what we are showing to them.
So Thangla. At Thangla, this pass called Thangla in Tawang.
So just for the benefit of viewers, this is essentially the build-up to December 9. What exactly happened? You are narrating the events.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So slowly, the Chinese forces started moving with the intent of taking this 17,000-foot peak. Because obviously this peak was a strategic place. It was overlooking other Indian defenses. It would have given the Chinese, that we are dominating the area by fire and by observation. So, last week of November, build up at Thangla.
Yeah.
Now, they're building up. The Chinese are building up their forces, they're building up their equipment, all with the aim that when they get the go-ahead, they go and take over. The army reinforced flanks upon sudden increase of PLS. So the army watched The Indian army was watching, Abhishek, and the Indian army, they started their counter maneuvers.
Yeah, tactical maneuvers. Also, this means, Major, that the Chinese came with a lot of preparation.
Yes.
Which means they planned it in advance. If they started the build-up sometime in the last week of November,
yes,
which means their planners, either at the brigade level or at the command level or the theatre command level or possibly in the Central Military Commission, somebody there gave a go-ahead. Okay, fine, go ahead with this, do this. Let's do another round of salami slicing with India.
Absolutely. So, Abhishek, what you're saying is right. It's on the button. You know why? While only 300 troops may have climbed up that mountain slope, but they had 5 battalions in reserve.
Yeah.
The original movement was 5 battalions, and 5 battalions is close to 5,000 men.
Yeah.
It's difficult to hide 5,000 men. At least it's difficult to hide the intention of 5,000 men.
Yeah.
And one more thing I'd like to tell the viewers, which is very important. Abhishek, in every battalion of the Chinese army, there is a political officer.
Yeah.
The political officer ensures that the value system of the Communist Party of China is passed down to the last man, and whether people are loyal to the Chinese Communist Party or not.
Yeah, and I'm told they have to take exams every month or every 6 months.
Absolutely, there are loyalty exams.
Enough communist or not?
Yes, are you communist enough or not? So what happened was, anybody who says that this is a rogue commander, that's not true, because right down to the battalion level, there is a political officer.
Absolutely.
And one more thing, before we proceed, I'd like to tell our viewers, I have told this time and again, and Abhishek has also mentioned it, we'd like to tell you this again, that the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, Navy and Air Force, they are not the Chinese Army, Navy and Air Force.
Yeah, they're the Communist Party.
They are the armed wing of the Communist Party of China. Now, coming to this, troops at post used HSTI, that is handheld thermal imaging, and altered on PNA movement. Now,
they got down on the PLA movement.
Yes. They were focusing on the PLA movement.
Yeah.
They came to know PLA is there.
Yeah.
They were getting this intelligence, these visuals, from their OPs, that is observation posts.
Yeah.
So there'll be observation posts, 1 or 2 people strategically placed on different areas, watching, communicating through the radio set, saying, sir, I can see 10 Chinese from here, I can see 15 Chinese from here, there are a bunch of 50 people coming from here, and they are going to come here, this is the likely. So everything, the commander at the post.
And how does the communication happen? Like, this is live communication or there's a report prepared? How does it happen?
No,
how does it go back to the brigade headquarters?
It's live communication on the radio set, and while written communication goes to brigade headquarters, but when in case of operations, it just goes on the fly.
And do we have fantastic encryption technology for this live communication not to be intercepted?
Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do.
Right.
Even at the battalion
so
level,
we were communicating, we were telling the soldiers were telling their brigade commander that these Chinese are there.
Chinese are forming up, they're coming up.
And the Chinese did not know.
Chinese did not know.
All right.
The Chinese
and in any case, it was, Jat regiment or Sikh light perhaps.
Yeah, Sikh light infantry,
and they can speak a language which the Chinese won't understand.
But they taught them Punjabi.
Yeah.
They taught them Punjabi. SITREP. SITREP is situation report.
Yeah.
SITREP was sent to brigade. And now, strategically placed QRTs, that is quick reaction teams, mobilized by Indian Army. Hence, brigade says, go ahead. Brigade says, go ahead. QRTs are mobilized. QRTs quietly move up and reinforce these 50 guys.
You keep moving. I'm telling the PCR they should keep moving the graphics.
Absolutely. So PLA hope to overwhelm troops with 6-to-1. This is what I was talking about.
Yes,
6-to-1 ratio.
Exactly.
1 Indian, 6 Chinese. That was the idea.
And the surprise was waiting for them. We'll move on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Now,
Indian Army QRTs were in position, not visible to
how
PLA.
did this happen? How did this happen? How did this happen?
Because they were camouflaged.
Okay.
And till the last moment, till the time the PLA soldiers came to the post, they thought there were only 50 people there.
Right. Till the time the clash started.
No, till the time they almost came near the post.
Right.
PLA thought that there were 50, and we allowed them to believe there were 50.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then PLA attempted to surround Thangla. This is funny.
For this, they would have to cross the LAC.
Yes.
And that's crime.
Yes. We were on the LAC. We were bang on the LAC.
Yeah.
So had they crossed our post, they would have come into India.
True.
But they did not cross the post because they got thrashed there.
Exactly.
Yes.
And also, Major, now when you mentioned that the PLA soldiers did not come to know till the last moment that there were more Indian troops than 50, which means they are not able to gauge where we are, how we are.
These people are hidden.
Is it because our outposts are at a advantage vis-a-vis the Chinese? Because I can see from the video, and we'll go back to the video in a bit once the
we're at a higher point.
You can see the Chinese are coming like this.
Yes.
And the Indian soldiers are pushing them down.
Yes,
Right?
that is true. We are at a vantage point, but the Chinese tried to use fog and nature to hide their presence. They were using fog because there's dense fog there. They were using the fog. They thought nobody would figure out. Now, what happened was we could not get satellite imagery because of the dense cloud
I'm
cover.
told we have Madhav Nalabat, right? We have a guest. Are we done with the graphics? Cursing, pushing in, bulky winter clothing.
Clothing, yes. And then that dhakka-mukki ensued,
Right.
where these guys picked up those lathis with wires, and they started thrashing the Chinese, and within minutes, the Chinese ran.
And Major, I'm told we have a guest joining us, Professor Madhav Nalapat, strategic affairs expert. I'll go to him, but quickly, before I go to him, quickly, Major.
Yeah.
You know, the Chinese soldiers, if you read their faces, they're looking a little scared.
Yes.
They don't know what hit them.
Yes.
Which means they were not expecting this kind of response. What were they expecting? Were they expecting tea, biscuits, something?
No. Actually, Abhishek, the problem with the Chinese soldiers are that these are not voluntary soldiers. Our soldiers are voluntary.
Yeah.
They join the army because they want to join the army.
Yeah.
The Chinese are picked up. You will serve in the army because the CCP so dictates.
Right.
They're unwilling soldiers.
Right. Okay, let's go to Professor Madhav Nalapat. Welcome. Good evening, sir. You know, we have been watching this video since yesterday of a clash between Indian and Chinese soldiers. No, not the latest one, but gives us an idea of the area, gives us an idea of how the two respective armies really engage, interact.